Have you ever wanted a deck that's based around making your best attacker better? Maybe you wanted to build around a theme. Well, with the release of Temporal Forces, Pokemon's newest set, you now have the ability to design around one of the coolest Pokemon types, Future types. In the last video, we covered Ancient, which had a lot of one-prize attackers and things that synergized off Ancient Pokemon on the bench and on the board, as well as Ancient Pokemon in the discard. This time we'll be going over its counterpart, Future. If you want to check out the Ancient list, feel free to check the link right here, wherever I'm going to put it, to kind of figure out what that list would look like in the current Pokemon format. So if you're tired of keeping your eyes in the past and want to take a look at something more futuristic, come check out this deck. Hello everybody and welcome back to Poke Primer. This week we're going to be talking about a deck that is considered Future Box, also known as Future Iron Hands. This deck is all based around Iron Hands EX and a bunch of other cards that make us care about the future tags that the Pokemon have. Iron Hands EX is a future Pokemon with 230 HP with the attacks Arm Press, that for 2 lightning and a colorless deals 160, as well as Amp You Very Much, that deals 120 for 1 lightning and 3 colorless. Amp You Very Much has a secondary ability. It says if your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, you take 1 more prize card. Now normally looking at this, the numbers don't really hit that much. 160 isn't really enough to knock out any of the EXs in the format, and 120, while it has a cool ability, is not enough to really keep you ahead. Let's take a look at other attackers in the format. For example, we have Charizard EX that has 330 HP. Another big card is Rotom V that also has 190 HP. If you look at Iron Hands as is, he does not do enough damage to get good clean knockouts. That's where the next card of the deck comes in. The second card that's played in the list is Iron Crown EX. Iron Crown EX is a new card printed from Temporal Forces that has the ability Cobalt Command. Attacks used by your future Pokemon, except any from Iron Crown EX, deal 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. This is before applying weakness and resistance. Now when you take into account the extra 20 damage that's added on from each Iron Crown, let's say we have about 3 on the bench, that's an extra 60 damage that can be added to stuff such as Arm Press and Amp You Very Much. That makes math a lot easier, where Amp You Very Much can get 2-turn knockouts. But another big problem with Iron Hands EX is the energy cost of the attacks. Hitting 3 energy and 4 energy right out the bat is super rough. So one of the things that we try to take advantage of is Voiddyn that was printed in Temporal Forces. Voiddyn has an attack for 1 energy called Peak Acceleration. If you use Peak Acceleration, it'll deal 40 damage and it'll allow you to search for up to 2 basic energy cards and attach them to your future Pokemon in any way you'd like. Then you may shuffle your deck. Using this along with Electric Generator allows you to get an Iron Hands that can come out and attack as early as turn 2. Also, by putting extra damage on with Voiddyn allows you to get these really consistent turn 2 attacks with Iron Hands EX to allow you to take extra prizes using Amp You Very Much. Using Iron Hands EX, you're looking to get knockouts on things that have lower HP pools that will allow you to take extra prizes. By taking extra prizes, you kind of put yourself in this position that even if you lose or fall behind on prize trades, you're able to kind of catch up really easily by taking knockouts on big things. Their 2 prizes are now worth 3. Their 1 prizes are now worth 2. Now you could just say, goodbye Radiant Greninja, I take 2 prizes off the knockout. One of the bigger problems that this list has is if you lose an Iron Hands and you don't have a second one set up, you kind of lose momentum. The way that we deal with this is a new tool called Heavy Baton that was introduced in Temporal Forces. Heavy Baton is a Pokemon tool card that says if the Pokemon this card is attached to has a retreat cost of exactly 4, is in the active spot, and is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, move up to 3 basic energy cards from that Pokemon to your benched Pokemon in any way you'd like. Normally we would play something like EXP Share, but Heavy Baton is definitely made for this list. Since our Iron Hands EX has a retreat cost of exactly 4, we're going to make sure that this gets moved around ASAP. But just because we have Heavy Baton doesn't mean that we can really slack on setting up a second Iron Hands EX. By making sure we have a second Iron Hands EX, we won't really ever get caught out in the active because we'll be able to use Future Booster Energy Capsule to make you deal more damage as well as get a free retreat cost. Your extra backup attackers in this list, besides Iron Crown EX, we do have the energy to run Miraidon's second attack, which is Sparking Strike, which deals a respectable 160 damage. We also have Mew EX, which can definitely come in handy when you want to copy an opponent's attack that's way better than your own. Now, we did this a little bit out of order. We talked about the deck and a majority of how you would play it before we even got to the deck list. So let's talk about the deck list. For this list, we'll be running 10 Pokemon. You'll be playing 4 Iron Crown EX, 3 Iron Hands EX, 2 Miraidon, and 1 Mew EX. For trainers, we're going to be running 34. You're going to be running 4 Arven, 4 Professor's Research, 2 Iono, 2 Boss's Orders, 1 Erica's Invitation, 4 Techno Radar, 4 Electric Generator, 2 Pokegear 3.0, 1 Nest Ball, 1 Switch Cart, 1 Lost Vacuum, 1 Prime Catcher, 1 Counter Catcher, 4 Future Booster Energy Capsule, and 2 Heavy Baton. For the energy split, we'll be playing 16 Energy, 14 Lightning Energy, and 2 Psychic Energy. So this deck has 2 major things you need to learn when playing the list. What does a proper setup for this deck look like? And 2 is, how are you going to have a second Iron Hands ready just in case the first one gets knocked out? When looking to set up, our goal is to make sure we have a Miraidon out and ready to attack right away. We want to be able to put at least 2 Iron Crown onto the bench and have 1 Iron Hands out and maybe another one ready to set up right away. Getting a Heavy Baton on an Iron Hands early is super important because it allows you to switch those energies as needed, but having a Future Booster Energy Capsule ready to go onto one of your other Iron Hands, as well as your Miraidon, is super important because the one thing you want to do is make sure that something doesn't get stuck in the active that can't attack. Also, don't be afraid to 2-hit KO things. You can always set up a KO by attacking with Miraidon first, moving energy around, and then coming in with Iron Hands EX and getting the knockout right after. While Amp You Very Much might be your goal for a lot of 1 prizers, don't be afraid to use the other attack to make sure you get a knockout. Taking prizes is way more important when you're first learning the deck. Once you get a little bit more comfortable, then you can set up the Amp You Very Much knockouts. Now, if you want to play something that's a little bit different from this normal Future Iron Hands list, there's another Future box that people have been playing that has shown up in the EUIC as well. This list plays 1 Iron Leaves EX and 1 Iron Bundle. Instead of me doing a whole readout of what this list would look like, I'm gonna have my editor put it up right here. This list is played over the other version because of the fact that Iron Leaves EX is really good into Charizard because it hits for weakness, as well as the fact that you don't need to have everything 100% set up to have it knock out. This version does sacrifice a bunch of secondary attackers with your Miraidon as well as your Iron Crown EX to allow you to attack with Iron Leaves EX as a simple gotcha towards those Charizards. So if your meta has a bunch of Charizards, consider playing this list instead. Overall, I believe Iron Hands EX is a deck that is definitely going to be relevant in the format. It's one of those things that as long as there are 1 prize attackers in the format, and also as long as Lugia is still in the format, I believe that this deck will definitely be one of the contenders until something else phases it out. This deck is very safe to build online too, because it plays very well into unknown matchups. Just understand that there's a little bit of variance in this deck, and it can be very frustrating not being able to hit your electric generators, and sometimes having a really bad opening hand, but don't let that deter you. Through playing this game over and over and over again, you have to play through all the bad hands to try to improve and try to get better. So overall, I suggest giving this deck a try, at least trying it online, as the cards are very cool, and it gives this very unique feeling of a deck. If you guys like the content, and if you guys want to see more deck lists, feel free to drop a comment and let me know what deck you want to see next. Because now we're in the F format, I have to do a new Charizard guide as well as a new Gardevoir guide. If this is stuff that you want to see, feel free to drop a comment below, or just let me know anywhere that you see me. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. Drop a follow, drop a like, and I'll see you guys next time. We have a new tournament coming up soon, which means some new cool lists coming around the bend.